Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, we are going to look at something today that might completely shatter your assumptions about what a simple patch of dirt can actually achieve. I want you to imagine making over $50,000 in a single year. And we're not talking about a massive commercial farm here, or some giant $1 million greenhouse. We're talking about a completely normal backyard garden. Now I know, it sounds like an exaggeration, right? Sounds literally impossible. But as we're about to see, this was actually achieved without tractors, without huge acreage, and completely without commercial scale.
The entire foundation of today's explainer really boils down to this one idea. The 50,000 didn't come from growing more. It came from growing smarter. You see, hitting that incredible profit margin, it wasn't about acquiring massive amounts of land or, working back-breaking 20-hour days in the sun. It was achieved through 20 years of gardening experience distilled into some incredibly unconventional plant choices. We're talking about crops with virtually zero local competition, things that are fiercely hunted down by premium buyers.
Okay, let's dive into this and compare the two models. The traditional growing more approach, that just traps you in a cycle of high competition, high labor, and really low margins. You're basically fighting everyone else at the local farmer's market trying to sell the exact same red tomatoes. But flipping the script to growing smarter changes absolutely everything. This is all about strategic choices. It's about serving niche markets. Think high-end chefs, artisan crafters, health-conscious consumers. These are people who are actively searching for specific, high-value crops that standard everyday nurseries just completely ignore. Our analysis today breaks down into 4 core strategies. Strategy 1, high-value patience crops, specifically saffron and wasabi. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the raw economics of patience. Just look at this. Saffron consistently sells between $2,000 and $5,000 per pound. $5,000. And wasabi pulls in $100 to $150 per pound for fresh rhizome. Yes, okay, saffron takes about 3 years for those underground corms to naturally triple in size, and wasabi requires a solid 18 to 24 months before you can harvest. But here's the thing. Most growers look at that slide and just walk away, and that is exactly why the market is wide open for those of us who are willing to just wait.
Let's break down saffron first. If you live in USDA zones 6 to 9, this is a phenomenal opportunity. But look at step 1 on our list here. Fix your drainage. Seriously, it's absolutely crucial. Saffron is totally unforgiving when it comes to wet roots. If your soil doesn't drain well, your crop is going to fail. Once you've got that solved, you want to invest in certified disease-free corms. You'll pay about $1 to $2 each for them, and please don't buy cheap diseased stock. It will ruin your entire bed. You plant them late August to September, and by October, you're already hand harvesting the 3 tiny red stigmas from each flower. 100 properly drained corms will yield 2 to 3 dried grams in year 1, and then they multiply incredibly fast. Moving right along to wasabi. Now, this plant has a reputation for being impossibly finicky, but honestly, that's a myth. It doesn't need perfect conditions, it just needs very specific ones. It wants cool shade, specifically temperatures sitting between 46 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Add in some consistent moisture and a soil pH between 6 and 7 and you're golden. You know that damp, neglected, shady corner under a tree canopy in your yard that you never know what to do with? That is prime wasabi real estate, and here is the genius part of this system. While you're waiting those 2 years for the valuable root to mature, you can harvest and sell the gently peppery leaves. It's a great way to build relationships with restaurants and generate some real income early on. Now, if waiting 2 years isn't exactly your style, strategy 2 shifts gears entirely. Fast returns and low barriers to entry. We're talking microgreens, mâché, ground cherries, and gourmet mushrooms. 7 to 14. I really want that number to sink in for a second. That is the incredibly short seed to harvest window for microgreens. We're talking days, not weeks, not months, days. And you don't even need a garden for this. You literally need 0 outdoor space, no seasonal timing to worry about. Just some trays, seeds, water, and either a bright window or a basic LED light setup. A single standard tray of microgreens can yield $20 to $50 across multiple markets, from your health-conscious neighbors to high-end local restaurants. But there is an absolute key to making microgreens work as a business. 10 reliable trays every single week always beats 50 inconsistent ones. If you try to scale up way too fast and fail to deliver predictably, restaurants will drop you in a heartbeat. You absolutely must build the discipline before you build the volume. Now let's head back outdoors and look at mosh. When December hits, most local growers totally check out until spring. But mosh genuinely thrives in the colds across zones 4 to 9. A light frost just rolls right off it. You can harvest this buttery, delicate, slightly nutty salad green straight through January and February with absolutely zero heating or complex greenhouse infrastructure. Because local supply vanishes in the winter, but restaurant demand definitely doesn't, Mosh commands 3 to 4 times the price of conventional lettuce. You literally become the only fresh game in town.
Then we have ground cherries for zones 5 through 10. The secret to this crop is entirely in the sensory experience. Trying to explain them to a buyer doesn't really work, but the moment you let a customer peel back that little papery husk and taste one, it delivers this whisper of pineapple, vanilla, and tropical sweetness, and boom, the conversation is over. They buy it instantly on impulse. Small cartons move super easily at $6 to $10 each. Plus, they require incredibly low effort. They love full sun, and they naturally self-seed. That means they often just pop right back up the next year without you touching a thing.
Rounding out our fast returns, we've got gourmet mushrooms. This perfectly illustrates what we call a closed-loop system. You don't need sunlight, you don't need soil, your dark basement or your garage is a completely legitimate production space. You start with forgiving oyster mushrooms, growing them on literal household waste, like sawdust or spent coffee grounds. Within just 3 to 6 weeks, you have a harvest selling for $10 to $20 a pound. Once you've got the confidence down, you upgrade to lion's mane. That one is exploding in popularity right now for its cognitive health benefits, which is pushing prices up to $40 a pound and beyond.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our third strategy, multi-market powerhouses: lavender, lemon verbena, sea buckthorn, and stevia. Just take a look at the earning power of lavender. One tough, practically pest-free plant feeds 3 entirely distinct income streams. You've got dried craft bundles selling for $10 to $20 each, essential oils for perfume and soap makers fetching $15 to $40 a bottle, and a really strong culinary specialty market. The trick here? You must pick the right variety. If you're in a cold climate, you need a cold hardy cultivar like Hidcote or Munstead. Otherwise, you're going to lose your entire planting in that first hard winter.
Next up are lemon verbena and sea buckthorn. Verbena has this irreplaceable, pure, bright lemon scent that synthetic fragrances just cannot touch. Perfume makers, high-end pastry chefs, and tea producers will practically fight each other for a consistent supply, pushing those dried leaves to $30 to $40 a pound. Then look at sea buckthorn. It has this completely backwards reputation for being difficult to grow. In reality, it thrives in poor soil, handles hard winters in zones 3 to 7, and even loves coastal winds. It produces berries packed with vitamin C and an oil that sells for $60 to $70 per 100 milliliters. The only real trick is that you absolutely must plant 1 male for every 6 to 8 female plants if you want to get fruit. Now check out this massive multiplier. 200 times. No, that's not a typo. That is the literal sweetening power of stevia leaves compared to standard table sugar. It is driving a huge, sustained demand in the natural health market right now. The economics on stevia are just fantastic. Dried leaves sell for $25 to $40 a pound. And in warm climates, we're talking zones 9 and above, it's a true perennial. You can cut it back and harvest it 4 or 5 times a year. But beyond just the money, this is a profoundly practical plant. It's an honest, dual-purpose crop that gives you a natural, daily sweetener for your morning coffee and your baking, growing just a few steps outside your own door. Which brings us to strategy 4, closing the loop, execution and the golden rules. So the crucial point is how you synthesize all of this. The execution boils down to these golden rules. First, please do not plant everything on this list. Pick just one crop to start and master it. Second, you really must respect your specific climate. Third, spend properly upfront. Buying certified disease-free stock isn't some unnecessary upsell, it's a hard requirement for success. And finally, just like we saw with microgreens, establish absolute consistency before you ever attempt massive scale. You do not need acres of land to do this, you just need to choose deliberately. I have a direct question for you right now. What is your USDA zone? I challenge you to go look this up the second we're done here if you don't already know it by heart. Because ignoring your local climate and trying to force a plant into an environment it hates, that guarantees garden heartbreak from day one. Figure out your zone and then select the crop from today's explainer that actually matches your reality. I want to leave you with this timeless thought to wrap up our explainer today. The best time to plant was last season. The second best time is right now. Every single day you wait is a day of growth you just can't get back. You've got the blueprint, you know the premium crops, and you know the golden rules. The only thing left to do is get your hands in the dirt and start turning your backyard into a truly smart, profitable space. So take a look out your window at that patch of grass right now. Which $50,000 crop is going to take root first? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait to see what you start growing.